In the heart of bustling New York, I found myself standing amidst the bright lights of a major fashion event, showcasing my latest collection. At 45, I had carved out a successful career as a fashion designer, known for my creativity and unique style. This event was a milestone, drawing in media attention and celebrities alike. Yet beneath the glamour and applause, I felt a wave of anxiety. My personal life, especially my marriage to David, was not as seamless as my career. At 48, David was a successful financial investor, but the demands of work and life had created a rift between us. As the event buzzed around me, my phone buzzed too, with a call from David. I expected a congratulatory message, but seeing his name brought a sense of unease. Stepping away from the noise, I answered, trying to maintain a cheerful tone despite the knots in my stomach. "Hi, David." I greeted him, masking my anxiety. His voice, however, was cold and distant, sending a chill down my spine. "I want a divorce," he declared, each word cutting deep. "I've sold our penthouse. Laura and I need the money to start fresh." His words were like a punch to the gut, leaving me reeling. Our penthouse in Manhattan wasn't just a home. It was a symbol of the life we'd built together. The betrayal was unimaginable, but what hurt even more was the mention of Laura, my closest friend. The feeling of being betrayed by the two people I trusted most was suffocating. But I refused to let him see me falter. I kept my tone neutral. "Sounds good," I replied, determined not to show my hurt. Inside, a storm brewed, and I knew I had to prepare for the emotional and legal challenges ahead. This was just the beginning of a new chapter, and I was ready to face it head-on. Standing in that hallway, clutching my phone, I felt my world tilt on its axis. David's words echoed in my mind, their impact hitting like a freight train. The man I once trusted had just dismantled our life together with a few cold, calculated sentences. As the reality of the situation sank in, I realized I needed to act quickly. Our penthouse, a luxurious escape in the heart of Manhattan, was supposed to be our shared sanctuary. David claimed to have sold it to fund his new life with Laura, but I knew better. Months ago, during a refinancing process, I had strategically transferred the deed into my name. His arrogance and oversight would be his downfall. Returning to the event, I masked my turmoil beneath a veneer of professionalism, greeting colleagues and clients with a smile. But inside, a fire had ignited a determination to reclaim control over my life and face this betrayal with strength and resolve. Once home, I immediately contacted Michael, my lawyer and confidant. As I recounted the shocking conversation, his calm and methodical approach helped ground me. "He sold the penthouse?" Michael repeated, incredulous but reassuring. "Legally, he can't do that without your consent." "Exactly," I replied, a hint of satisfaction threading through my words. It was empowering to know that David's plan was already unraveling, that his attempt to discard me was built on a foundation of sand. "We'll need to act swiftly," Michael advised, already in problem-solving mode. "First, I'll notify the supposed buyer that the sale is invalid. Then, we'll draft a formal letter to David, outlining the legal consequences of his actions. If he persists, we're prepared to take him to court." Hearing Michael articulate our plan of action infused me with a renewed sense of purpose. David thought he could discard me, but he underestimated my resilience and the strength of my support network. As the night wore on, I compartmentalized my emotions, channeling them into planning my next moves. The betrayal hurt, but the thought of watching David's smug confidence crumble gave me strength. I was no longer the passive partner he believed me to be. I was ready to dismantle his lies, to reclaim my life, and to move forward on my own terms. This was just the beginning of a new chapter, and I was prepared to face it head-on, with determination and clarity. As the initial shock of David's betrayal subsided, a steely resolve took its place. I was determined not to let him or Laura see me falter. Armed with the knowledge and support from Michael, my lawyer, I was ready to face whatever came next. The penthouse, which David arrogantly claimed to have sold, was legally mine, and I intended to protect it fiercely. Returning from the fashion event, I entered the penthouse with a renewed sense of purpose. The space, once a symbol of our shared dreams, now felt like a battleground. David's belongings were scattered throughout, reminders of the life we once had. But instead of sadness, I felt a growing anticipation for the confrontation that was inevitable. The next day, as I sipped my morning coffee, the calm before the storm settled over me. Michael had already begun reaching out to the supposed buyer, ensuring they were aware of the illegality of the sale. Meanwhile, I prepared myself mentally for David's reaction to the letter Michael had drafted, outlining the potential legal consequences of his actions. Sure enough, that evening, David stormed in, the letter clutched in his hand, his face a mixture of disbelief and anger. "What the hell is this?" he demanded, waving the paper as if it were a personal affront. "You're telling me I can't sell the apartment? It's half mine." "No, David, it's not," I replied calmly, meeting his gaze with unwavering confidence. "The deed has been in my name for months. You can't sell something you don't own." His bravado faltered, confusion flickering across his face. "What are you talking about?" I retrieved the deed from my desk, holding it up for him to see. "After we refinanced, I had it transferred to my name. You signed off on it, remember? Or did you just skim the paperwork like you always do?" For a moment, he stood there, absorbing the reality of his oversight. Then his expression twisted into a sneer, a last-ditch effort to regain control. "You think you're so smart, don't you? This doesn't change anything." I stepped closer, my voice low but firm. "The sale is already void, David. The buyer knows it, and they're ready to take legal action if you don't return the money. And if you've spent any of that deposit, you're in even bigger trouble." For the first time, I saw a flicker of doubt in his eyes. He started pacing, frustration mounting. "This is ridiculous. You're blowing everything out of proportion." "No, David, I'm just taking back control," I replied, a calm confidence settling over me. I knew I was ready to dismantle his lies and rebuild my life on my terms. This was just the beginning. The confrontation with David had left a palpable tension in the air, but I felt more empowered than ever. With the legal situation firmly in hand, I knew I was not alone in this battle. Michael continued to manage the legal complexities, his expertise a constant reassurance that I was on solid ground. Meanwhile, I turned my attention to rebuilding my life, starting with reclaiming my personal space. The penthouse, once a shared sanctuary, had become a symbol of my newfound independence. As I moved through the rooms, I began to envision how I could transform the space to reflect my true self. Each piece of David's that I packed away felt like shedding an old skin, making room for the person I was becoming. In the midst of this transformation, Emily, my sister, arrived with her usual warmth and energy. She had been a steadfast support through all of this, her presence a reminder that I was not alone. "Let's make this place yours again," she declared, her enthusiasm infectious. We spent the afternoon rearranging furniture, selecting new colors for the walls, and choosing artwork that spoke to my soul. With each decision, I felt a growing sense of ownership and freedom. The penthouse was no longer a monument to a broken relationship, but a canvas for my future. As the sun set, bathing the city in a golden glow, Emily and I took a moment to admire our work. "It looks amazing," she said, her eyes reflecting pride. "This is just the beginning for you." Her words resonated deeply, affirming the path I was on. For too long, I had allowed David's presence to overshadow my own desires. But now, with each small victory, I was taking back control, one step at a time. Meanwhile, Michael kept me updated on the legal proceedings. "The fraud charges are off the table since the buyer decided not to pursue them," he informed me, his voice steady and reassuring. "But the divorce paperwork is moving along smoothly. Once David signs, you'll be officially free." Hearing the word free was transformative. It was more than just a legal status. It was a state of mind, a liberation from the chains that had bound me to a life I no longer wanted. As I stood in the newly claimed space, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The penthouse, once a symbol of David's betrayal, had become my sanctuary, a place where I could heal, grow, and thrive. This was my home, my life, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next, with a heart full of hope and a spirit unbroken. The penthouse transformation was a turning point, but the emotional journey was far from over. The legal proceedings continued to unfold, and while Michael managed the complexities, I focused on rebuilding my personal life. Yet, amidst the empowerment, a new challenge loomed, confronting Laura, the woman who had once been my closest friend. One evening, as I was settling into my newly decorated living room, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Laura standing there, her expression a mix of guilt and defiance. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice hesitant. I hesitated, the memories of our friendship clashing with the betrayal I felt. But curiosity, and perhaps a need for closure, compelled me to let her in. As she stepped inside, the tension was palpable, the air thick with unsaid words. "Nice place," Laura commented, her eyes scanning the room. "It really suits you." "Thanks," I replied curtly, gesturing for her to sit. "What do you want, Laura?" She sighed, her defenses visibly crumbling. "I wanted to apologize," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I never meant for things to happen this way." Her words hung in the air, and for a moment, I felt the old pain resurface. But this time, it was tempered by the strength I had found in myself. "You never meant for this to happen, yet here we are," I replied, my voice steady. "You were my friend, Laura. How could you?" She looked down, the weight of my words settling over her. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I hope we can at least find some peace." "Laura," I said, taking a deep breath, "I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. I need to focus on myself now. You made your choices, and I've made mine." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I understand," she said finally, standing up. "I just wanted to say my piece." As I walked her to the door, a sense of finality settled over me. This was the closure I hadn't realized. I need the chance to reclaim my narrative completely. Laura had been a significant part of my past, but that chapter was closed. After she left, I stood in the quiet of my home, the future stretching out before me, open and uncharted. I felt an overwhelming sense of freedom, ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing that I had the strength to shape my own destiny and the courage to face it unafraid. After Laura left, I felt a strange sense of liberation. The penthouse was now truly mine, filled with the spirit of renewal and the promise of new beginnings. But just as I began to settle into this newfound peace, life threw another challenge my way, one that tested the resilience I had been building. A few days later, as I was organizing my studio, my sister Emily arrived with urgency in her eyes. "Anna, you need to see this," she said, handing me an envelope. Inside was a letter from David's lawyer, challenging the terms of our agreement. My heart raced as I read through the lines, the legal jargon blurring as anxiety tightened its grip. "He's contesting the ownership," I muttered, disbelief mingling with frustration. Emily placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "We'll get through this, whatever it takes." I immediately contacted Michael. His calm voice on the other end of the line was a lifeline. "Don't worry, Anna. We have a solid case. David can try, but he won't succeed. Let's meet tomorrow and strategize." That night, sleep eluded me. Every time I closed my eyes, I pictured an endless courtroom battle, the fear of losing my home clawing at my resolve. But alongside the fear was a growing determination not to let David's tactics intimidate me. The next morning, I met Michael at his office. His confidence was reassuring as he laid out our plan. "We'll counter his claims with the documentation we've gathered. The evidence is on our side." As he spoke, a sense of calm washed over me. I realized that this was just another hurdle, one that I was prepared to face head-on. David's challenge wasn't just about the penthouse. It was about testing my strength, my willingness to fight for what was rightfully mine. Over the next few weeks, Emily and I gathered every piece of evidence, every document that proved my ownership. We prepared meticulously, knowing that this was a pivotal moment in reclaiming my independence. During this time, the support from Emily and Michael became my anchor. Their unwavering belief in me fueled my confidence, transforming my anxiety into a steely resolve. I was no longer the same person I was when David first betrayed me. I had grown stronger, more resilient, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the court date approached, I felt a mix of anticipation and calm. I knew that standing up to David wasn't just about winning a legal battle, it was about defining my future on my terms. And with each passing day, I became more certain that I was ready for whatever came next. The day of the court hearing arrived with a mix of tension and anticipation. As I walked into the courthouse, flanked by Michael and Emily, I felt a surge of determination. This was more than just a legal battle. It was a defining moment in reclaiming my autonomy and setting the course for my future. David was already there, his demeanor smug and confident. He exchanged a brief glance with me, a silent challenge lingering in the air, but I was ready. Months of preparation had led to this moment, and I was determined not to let him see any hint of doubt. As proceedings began, Michael presented our case with precision and clarity. Each piece of evidence was meticulously laid out, reinforcing my legal ownership of the penthouse. I watched as David's confidence wavered, the reality of our argument sinking in. The judge listened intently, and as Michael concluded, I felt a shift in the room's energy. David's lawyer attempted to counter, but their arguments lacked the substance and conviction that Michael had brought to the table. During a brief recess, Emily squeezed my hand reassuringly. "You're doing great, Anna. We've got this," she whispered, her support a steadying force. As we returned to the courtroom, I felt a renewed sense of confidence. The judge's expression was thoughtful, and when he finally delivered his decision, relief washed over me. The court upheld my ownership of the penthouse, dismissing David's claims entirely. The sense of victory was overwhelming. David's composure cracked, and for the first time I saw uncertainty in his eyes. It was a validation of my strength and resilience, a confirmation that I had the power to shape my destiny. Outside the courthouse, Michael and Emily celebrated with me, their joy mirrored in my own. "This is just the beginning," Michael said, his voice filled with pride. As we parted ways, I walked through the bustling streets of New York with a newfound sense of freedom. The city felt different, its energy vibrant and full of promise. I realized that this victory was not just about the penthouse, it was about reclaiming my life, about stepping into a future defined by my choices and my strength. With each step, I felt lighter, more empowered. The challenges I had faced had forged a new version of myself, stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. This was my life, my journey, and I was ready to live it fully, on my own terms. With the court ruling in my favor, a new chapter of my life began to unfold. The victory in the courtroom wasn't just a legal triumph, it was a personal revelation. I felt an overwhelming sense of liberation, knowing that I had reclaimed control over my destiny. The city, with its endless possibilities, seemed to reflect my renewed spirit. Back at the penthouse, I stood by the window, watching the vibrant tapestry of New York unfold below. The skyline, once a backdrop to my uncertainties, now symbolized hope and new beginnings. Each day was an opportunity to redefine my path, and I was eager to embrace it. Inspired by the strength I'd discovered, I decided to channel my energy into my work. My fashion line, which had always been a passion, became a canvas for my newfound creativity. I poured my heart into designing a new collection, each piece reflecting resilience and empowerment. The process was cathartic, a reminder of how far I'd come. Emily remained a cornerstone of my journey, her support unwavering. Together, we brainstormed ideas for the collection, envisioning a launch that would make a statement about overcoming adversity. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and together, we crafted a vision that was as bold as it was personal. As the launch approached, A mix of excitement and nerves coursed through me. The fashion industry was competitive, and this collection was deeply personal. But I was ready. The support from Michael and Emily, combined with my own resolve, fueled my confidence. On the day of the launch, the venue buzzed with anticipation. Friends, industry insiders, and supporters filled the space, their presence a testament to the connections and resilience that had carried me through. As the lights dimmed and the first model walked the runway, a wave of emotion washed over me. Each piece told a story, each design a reflection of my journey. The audience responded with warmth and admiration, their applause resonating with my heart. It was a moment of triumph, not just professionally but personally, a celebration of resilience, renewal, and reinvention. As the evening drew to a close, I stood amidst the crowd, gratitude and pride swelling within me. The challenges I'd faced had become stepping stones to a life I was excited to live, a life where I called the shots, embraced my passions, and surrounded myself with people who uplifted and inspired me. This was just the beginning. The future lay wide open, and for the first time I felt truly free, ready to embrace all the adventures it promised. Reflecting on Anna's journey from betrayal to empowerment offers valuable lessons for navigating life's challenges. First, always maintain control over your personal and financial assets. Being proactive can protect you in unexpected situations. Second, lean on your support network. Trusted friends and professionals can provide the strength and guidance needed during difficult times. Embrace change as an opportunity for growth. Anna transformed her living space and career to reflect her new identity, reinforcing her independence and self-worth. Pursue your passions and focus on self-improvement. These are crucial for personal growth. Finally, trust in your resilience. Even in the face of adversity, the ability to adapt and rebuild is a powerful tool. By prioritizing yourself and your well-being, you can navigate uncertainties with confidence and emerge stronger, ready to embrace new opportunities.